Here at Podcast One, we love hearing from you. We read every tweet and comment you send our way, so don't miss your chance to take our summer listener survey. Just go to podcastone.com and click on the survey banner, or go to podcastone.com/mysurvey. It only takes a few minutes, and it gives you the opportunity to make a direct impact on your favorite shows. Tell us how you really feel, so we can get to know you better. We value your thoughts and participation, so check out the survey at podcastone.com/mysurvey, or click on the survey banner on podcastone.com.
Podcast One presents Song Talks with Richard Marx. Song Talks with guests ranging from legendary songwriters, artists, and musicians to stars of film and television. In each episode, Richard brings us the intimate stories of the songs that have impacted people's lives. Now, here's Richard Marx.
Welcome back to Song Talks here on Podcast One. I'm Richard Marx. And today my guest is the beautiful and talented and cool Sarah Rafferty. Now you guys know Sarah as the character Donna Paulson on the smash hit show Suits on the USA Network, currently in its 7th season. But I also know Sarah as a huge and passionate music lover. So we got together recently at my house and sat down and talked about music for a while. And this is that conversation. Here's Sarah Rafferty. First of all, congratulations not only on this incredible hit show, like serious hit show, which is now Suits is in its 7th season, right?
7.
But I was thinking about this, and we have to spend a minute on my TV habits, or lack thereof. But because this is maybe the only show that I have watched in the last couple of years, what's really cool, and I can sort of, it's really interesting because I can separate.
Is that true? It's the only show you've watched in the last couple of years?
Well, we watched Big Little Lies.
Oh, God, that was amazing.
But that's it.
Oh my God.
And that's another story. But
wow, what an honor that you've stuck with us.
Well, part of it is that I got into it before I stopped watching television. Mm-hmm. Second of all, by the time that happened, I was not only friendly with Rick Hoffman, mm-hmm. but I had become friendly with you through him. And I can say that I'm sure you have talked about this, but for a female character that's not the lead character to have been written in a way that is this transformation and this growth, and your character in a way has become the most layered maybe in the show.
Wow.
Don't you think?
That's so cool that you see it that way.
Am I wrong?
I think, gosh, I love that you say that. I'm flattered by that. I think that might be because she's the one that's not a lawyer.
Right, which makes you stand out for sure.
She's kind of the emotional glue.
Yeah.
And she's all up in everybody's emotional life. So, and I think that's why it never gets old playing her for me, because there's always so many colors in her crayon box because she's dealing with people's personal lives.
But was that something that you were aware of with the character from the outset? Or you had to just dive in and go and hope that maybe that would happen?
No, it's like, look, I think this was the 7th or the 9th pilot I had done or something like that. There comes a point where you're like, just please, like, let me have a job,
Right.
And even, I had a manager at the time who, when I was offered the role, was really like, really? You're going to go do this? I think you have like 10 lines in the pilot. You want to go do it? And I was like, you know what? You got to just show up and see what happens. Yeah. Because worst case scenario, nothing happens with this.
Look at the character of, holy shit! I can't believe I'm spacing on her name because she's amazing and she's beautiful. Connie Britton.
Oh gosh, I love her.
Her character in Friday Night Lights the movie versus Friday Night Lights the show, which was one of the last shows that I watched religiously. Again, from what I heard in the interviews, when she signed on to it, she said, look, I'm going to go with this and hope for the best. But there came a point when she wasn't happy she was just showing up as the wife. She was just the wife in every scene, in every episode. And she voiced, I guess, her displeasure to the writers. And then they reacted. Did that happen with you?
So what happened was, I would say, first off, I knew I was coming on to play the secretary. And by season 2, she had taken on a life that was beyond my expectation when I signed on. Because of her relationship with Harvey, which was written out of Gabriel's and my relationship, our natural relationship, because we've known each other for 25 years, and been friends.
Oh, really?
I mean, he was a bridesmaid in my wedding.
No shit. Wow.
We met in 93. In the summer of 1993.
How did you meet?
We met at Williamstown Theater Festival. We were both in the Act One company, and we stayed friends. I went on to drama school after that. He would come up and see me in the plays in New Haven.
Wow.
It was amazing. And anytime I was in LA, his parents are my West Coast parents, so we're really close. And then with
She's good now, by
Rick, I love her.
Betty's totally good
much. Now. And then when the character, all of a sudden they started to write towards this dynamic that Rick and I had, this more comedic dynamic, it just started to grow and grow and grow. And then we took this deeper dive, as you do in series TV as the years go on. You get to take this deeper dive into the character. But and they even made Donna an actress in a previous life.
Right.
She had started out as an actress and that kind of thing. But it's interesting that you asked that question, did I ever have a conversation? We've had a lot of conversations along the way that sort of I think, marinate in our writer's head and then percolate later. But the most interesting conversation that I may have had was just after the election this year. And, it was a really incredibly raw time for everybody, I think. And
actually, when I think back, it's like, oh, I miss those days.
Oh, God,
because it wasn't the reality that it is now. But anyway,
I
that's
miss
a whole nother...
George Bush.
I said that 2 days ago. I said,
Bush.
never would I have believed that and I'm a lifelong independent, so I'm not a Democrat. I see strengths and weaknesses on both sides of both parties. But I was not a fan of the Bush presidency at all, either one. Although I have great respect for Senior, But
yes, for sure.
But the other day I was walking down a hallway, just 3 days ago. It's so funny, and I went, "Man, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I really miss George W. Bush because at least he was. I mean, for all of the things that he did, I thought were boneheaded. I just felt that deep down he's a decent man.
Yeah,
and a politician, and a guy that understands how things have to work.
Yeah, well, that too, but also the sense that politicians have that they are here to serve. Whether you believe them or not.
And I'm somebody that has always welcomed the idea of a complete outsider. In the early days of Ross Perot, I remember thinking, okay, I really want to learn more about this guy. And I slowly watched him turn into a cartoon character.
Right.
That was just a crazy person. But I liked the idea that he was not of the typical, because I don't trust
Bloomberg. I sort of
It's just not. I have an innate distrust of anybody that wants to be elected to a public office.
I understand.
We've been conditioned to feel that way. But anyway.
So I had, I have 2 little girls, and I had maybe made the mistake of sitting them down in front of one of the debates, and it was the debate where Hillary Clinton was called a nasty woman.
Yeah,
and I had to jump off. I had guests in the house, but I was like, somebody please just pause it. And I turned to all the kids in the room because some of my friends had brought their kids too. And I was like, I have to explain to you that this isn't how it goes. This is not how people talk to each other. This is not public discourse. This is not how you treat an opponent. And this is not how you speak about anyone.
Right.
But in my heart, I'm like, and most of a woman.
Right.
This is the kind of shit. I can't. I have to pull myself back. So anyway, that moment.
But you felt the need in that moment to explain to your daughters
that the
next generation of women in this country that's not okay.
That's not okay, and you're not going
right.
to take that, and we're not going to take that. And it brought me to a conversation with our writer about, after the election, after watching just how Hillary was an imperfect candidate.
Yeah.
I don't think we can disagree about that. But
nope.
But the way she was treated and in some cases was really rough to watch. And so I had a conversation with our writer saying, what are we going to do with Donna moving forward? Because you've had this television show that's been on the air in a different time. The time has now changed.
Right.
And now we really have to think about what we're saying.
Right.
With her.
Good point.
And I mean, I heard Shonda Rhimes at the International Emmys get up and talk about how she used to say that she was like, I'm not making statements. I'm just writing a world. It's my world. This is the way the world that I'm writing works. And I don't need you to be pointing out that it's brown or white or, whatever spectrum it is. She got up and she said, now I understand that my pen has power. I mean, this is, a week after the election. My pen has power. I have heard you. I'm changed. Now I have more deliberateness. Mm-hmm. And I had such a great conversation with Aaron. And I think going into season 7, I mean, we've been on the air forever. And
Aaron Korsh.
Aaron Korsh, yeah. We're so lucky that we have avid viewers who have stuck with us. So Donna, had a change this year.
Yeah.
Early on.
But it is pretty remarkable to see a character like that develop in the way that she has. I mean, again, in the last maybe 4 years, I haven't kept up with any television. But I know that for the last 20 years, I can't really point to what would be considered a supporting character, I guess, technically, that has seen... First of all, your fan base is massive. Like,
we're so lucky.
Yeah.
We're so lucky.
It's so funny because I think that you're probably... perceived as Donna. Like some people are considered, like actresses or actors that, they're actors, and there's a big separation. But I would imagine that people come up much like, and I mean this not in the most in any pejorative way, but like some friends of mine who are soap opera actors who have said, these people think that I'm that person. Yeah. They think that I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
They come up and ask me medical questions, right?
Her body.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, I'm an actor.
Does this look infected?
Yeah. Is this mole look weird to you?
Should I have this
Sir,
removed?
Please pull your pants up. I'm not a doctor.
Exactly. Zip.
And I think that your fan base is rabid like that. That they not only perceive you as being Donna, but they want you to be Donna.
I think that's true. And sometimes when I'm out in the world, I'm like, I really hate to disappoint you.
Yeah, but
like,
I mean,
you look different than her. You're not in Valentino. I'm like, I just came from yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not a selfie right now.
Yeah, even Donna actually wears sweats sometimes. People.
No, but I think I think that's the nature of television, and now we have such an intimate relationship with television. Like we binge watch television. We watch it on our laptops, in our dorm rooms, in our homes, in our kitchens, with our families. I mean, we all get to be in people's homes with them.
Yeah.
They're in bed naked watching.
Right.
It's as intimate as it can get.
Well, I mean, it's music. Not to do a segue, but I mean, I think that the fact that people absorb and experience music sometimes in the most naked, both physically and emotionally, and vulnerable ways. So music gets to be a part of marriage, grief, childbirth, sex, friendship, right?
Memory.
Right.
Memory.
And to a lot of people, television and television characters, and I would say that even certain film and television dialogue is part of that life script for us too. There are certain moments in film and television in my life that, separate and apart from how it might have affected me or inspired me creatively, just as a guy, that I was changed by watching that or seeing that, or for me, mostly I would say it's from hearing those words out loud, whatever those words were, So
I was just saying to a friend today who I met in 98 doing As You Like It in Boston, like a old, great girlfriend from theater.
Mm-hmm.
She was asking me, what it's like to do it for this long, to play a character this long. And I just said, it's an amazing journey. And I feel really lucky that it's Donna, that I can be proud of who she is.
Yeah.
And that I continue to be very invested because of, social media. We get feedback right away.
Right.
And I notice that I'm getting a lot of feedback from young women.
That's great.
And so sometimes if I have any concerns about Donna, I voice them on behalf of these viewers who have entrusted me with her in a way. It's like Donna belongs to them.
Right, but
and
don't
I'm
you
just
think
the
this
keeper
goes
of
back to
her.
what I was saying about the development of your character, and to Aaron's credit.
Yeah.
And I'm just riffing here, but it seems to me that based on what you just said to me, if a young woman who watches the show and loves your character, if your character started out as the CEO of this company or the head of this whatever, it's certainly something you could aspire to be, but it's intimidating at the same time. I would think that there's a mental mind fuck that goes, well, I mean,
I say this all the time, Richard. You're like just right on. I say, I think we're on board with Donna because she's us.
Right.
Like we're the secretary.
Exactly.
We're that person.
And watching your trajectory makes them think, hey, you know what? If I'm smarter, if I can just be smarter than everybody else, if I can work harder, and if I can know shit that other people don't know, I can advance and succeed. And it's really inspiring if you think about it.
And I had this amazing moment with Una, my 9-year-old, this year. I got home from work and she said
what do your
me,
daughters think?
so they've never seen it, right? But it's a huge part of their life because we live in Toronto doing it and come to set and everything. And so Una's just at this, oh gosh, it's such an amazing moment. And she says to me, oh, Mom, we're like cooking dinner. How was work today? I'm sorry, I didn't ask. And I was like, oh my God.
She's
okay.
30.
Oh, hi.
She's
Hi.
30,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Could you open a bottle of Chardonnay?
Yeah.
I said, it was really cool, Donna. It was a really cool scene. Donna had to be incredibly brave and confront Harvey and ask for a promotion that she believes she deserves, but is a really big promotion. And
puts him in a really awkward position.
And it was a really cool day to play that. And she just looked at me and went, cool, girl power, and walked out the room. And I was like, that's cool. That's just cool
Yeah, totally.
that they're connected to it in that way.
Well, I mean, in a way, she gets it.
And it'll be fun to see where I go next. I mean, it'll be interesting to go play the opposite kind of character.
Is there a scoop to be had on the life of the show?
We are talking about an 8th and a 9th season. So,
wow, that's so
fingers
awesome.
crossed. Wait, I need to knock on some wood here.
Knock on the iPhone.
Knock on the iPhone. So
now we wait and see what happens to Donna from there. But
yeah.
It's the only show I watch. It's the only show I'm up on. And I started watching it with my middle son, Luke, when it first started. We stumbled upon it. And then right after that, I moved back to LA, and my life completely changed. I got divorced, and so I was kind of like single really for the first time in my life. And then really soon after, I started seeing Daisy, who I'm married to now, and television and film was such a huge part of my existence up until that point. And this reboot happened where it wasn't a conscious decision, but I found that I was so busy doing other things, starting a relationship, figuring out who I was, reading shit left and right, that I didn't have time to watch television or films. And over time I started to go, no, I can't invest time in watching other people do shit. I need to do shit. And again, that's just my thing, and it's not something that I preach to anybody. But I have so many people that go, So did you see Game of Thrones? I go, yeah, I don't watch. I don't watch Game of Thrones.
I know I can't keep up. Oh.
Well, whatever it is, that's huge.
Yeah.
Hey, chill out. Hey, we're recording.
But they're singing.
But they look at me like there's something wrong with me. And Daisy and I, because Daisy and I don't watch, except for Big Little Lies, and she hasn't seen Suits. I keep telling her about it. And I don't really, with Suits is my plain decompression. So I'll save up 5 or 6 episodes, and then when I'm on a plane to Korea or wherever I'm going, it's so awesome because I am invested in the show, and I love every character. And I feel like I root for the show in a way that I've never experienced with. I've had people that have made films, of course, and I've worked on music for films and stuff. But this show, I'm such a supporter of the show, not only because I just genuinely love the show, but between Rick and you, and even Gabriel, who I don't know, but he and I have interacted. It's like I just want this to succeed for the people involved, because it seems like it's just a group of people who love each other, who love working together, and are kicking ass, making a really, really fun show to watch. So for me, it's like, oh, thank God I get Suits to watch on the plane. Because I don't really watch anything else. That's it.
I think one thing you're tuning into too is like how grateful some of us are.
I feel that too. Yeah,
with each other in this moment, and knowing that it's a peak experience, and
how amazing that you and Gabriel with this long friendship.
Yeah, I mean,
really,
he's why I'm on the show.
And I know now that he did a lot of work before that, but I wasn't aware of him until Suits. So the fact that you guys, after all those years, that the thing that really sets both of your careers on fire happens together,
and that our families can have this experience together.
That's so cool.
And our kids are best friends.
That's so cool.
It's been absolutely amazing. I wanted to ask you though, what do you think about the music?
Oh, in the show, I'm a little jealous.
Oh,
I actually passed Aaron just by coincidence. And I didn't know him by sight, obviously, but I was coming out of a building, and he called my name, and I turned, and he says, "Hey, Richard, it's Aaron Korsh." And I was like, "Dude." So we talked for a minute, and I walked away, and I thought, I almost up and said, "Come on, man, let me write a song for the show."
Would you do that?
Oh, of course, absolutely. But
wait, are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. But here's the thing:
you're Richard Marx.
The music that you guys use is always spot on. There's never a time when first of all, the music's really the choices. Your music supervisor is great. But it's also never intrusive. It's never out of place. It's never like, really, what the fuck did they put a song there for? We don't need a song there. And there's nothing that's obligatory plus the theme is badass. And the fact that you guys are one of the only shows, at least, again, I don't watch anymore, but for years now, there's no theme songs anymore.
I know.
And you guys have a badass theme song.
We do. It's so funny. Rick and we were all interviewed. I wanted to share this with you because we were all interviewed asked the same questions, those Vanity Fair questions or whatever they are. And Rick and I ended up having so many of the same answers. And one of them was like, what was your favorite TV theme song? And we both were like, believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Oh, wow. Right.
Greatest American Hero.
Written by Mike Post.
Okay.
So let me tell you about Mike Post. Mike Post wrote the theme to Greatest American Hero. He also wrote the theme to the Rockford Files.
Oh, come on.
He also wrote the theme to Magnum P.I.
Okay.
He also wrote the theme to Hill Street Blues. He also wrote the theme to 20 other shows that you'd go, that's the same fucking guy? Mike Post, from in the late 70s through probably the end of the 80s, owned that shit.
Wow.
Really talented guy.
I'd love to see his house.
I bet we can't. I bet you'd have to take several pictures, like a panoramic picture. I don't think you can look at it all at once, is my guess.
Because it's so interesting. I mean, you were talking about the music. You were talking about the intimacy of our relationship with music and how we're naked. And of course, I want to joke initially and say, like, do people approach you all the time and say, like, "Oh, dude, I lost my virginity to your song," or like,
totally.
I mean, like,
I have so many more guys.
Yeah,
will come up to me and go, "Dude, man, your music's gotten me laid so many times." Thank you so much. I'm like, bro, glad to help. Some guy yelled it out. I'm playing in Vegas, and some guy yelled it out the other night. I forget what song. I think I was doing "Keep Coming Back," which is one of the sexier songs. It's less romantic and more sexy. And the guy went something like, "Dude, thanks for that song."
Oh, that's
and I went,
so
"Got
funny.
you covered, man."
You're
No
like
worries.
the best kind of wingman.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember the first time when I was listening to your music, I was thinking back because right now I'm just in a very nostalgic music phase, and we can talk about that later, you know, because you and I we've talked about the albums that I've been introducing Una to.
Yeah, which is really cool.
And I was thinking about how when I first heard your music, it helped me understand my emotional life.
Really?
Like, because when you're a teen and you started writing music when you were a teen, like,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, 16, 15.
Yeah. It's
Because I wanted to date Sarah Blackwell.
meet girls. And you didn't just get a puppy. You decided, I'm going to write her a song.
No. I mean, I didn't know how to be different in any other way.
Wow.
I felt so average in every other way. I didn't feel I didn't, and a lot of artists, whether, you know, it's in the acting world or writing world or music world, there's that thing where you go, okay, I feel average in every other way, but I think this makes me different. I didn't know, I mean, there were all these guys that were good looking or athletic or whatever, but I could sing and I could make up songs. So I remember thinking, that's what makes me different, and that's my game, for lack of a better word, when it comes to girls. Like, I got to figure out what's different about me that's going to get a girl interested in me, because the rest of it. So I was like, I'm going to work that. So it really it really did start out that way. I mean, obviously, very early on in my teens, I took it so seriously, and it was like, it wasn't just a ploy to try to get girls. It was, oh, this is my entire life. I need to dedicate my life to making music, and it took on a whole different life. But if I'm really honest, I pursued it and stuck with it because when I would sing, girls would be like, "Oh, hi." So I would be like, I'm going to sing all the time.
But you must have been born with a deeper understanding of emotion, of human emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking about acting, but I believe that music goes maybe deeper.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it actually can change you. It can change
Right.
how you feel. I think it can change your atoms. You know, you hear a song, it's why you listen to music in church.
Right.
It uplifts you.
Right.
It takes you
and it doesn't even
somewhere
have to be lyrics.
No.
You know, I'm much more moved in my lifetime. I've been much more moved by instrumental music than any song.
Like which I mean, I know for me, like it's Bach. Some days I'm just like, I just need
certain
to listen to Bach.
pieces by Bach, certain pieces by Haydn, certain pieces by you know, many of the masters, but also film scores. Because to me, film scores is the sort of other classical music. So even though I worshipped bands and artists and stuff growing up, my heroes were Dave Grusin, who scored on Golden Pond and Tootsie and
Oh my gosh.
on and on and on. Reds, and John Barry. John Barry scored Out of Africa, Born Free,
CD.
yeah, Somewhere in Time,
And
so like
Enrico, you did the Mission?
Morricone,
Yeah.
Ennio Morricone.
Oh, sorry. Whoops.
Ennio Morricone. Again, the music that he created. Michel Legrand, who scored Summer 42 and so many brilliant scores. There's something about those pieces of music. The theme to On Golden Pond by Dave Grusin, and this is stuff I got to send you, and the theme to Out of Africa. If I just put it on, and I've heard it thousands of times, I absolutely will get a little verklempt.
Yeah. No, well, and then you have in the Out of Africa, and then you have the picture of the lion on the grave.
Right. But even for me, even when I liked the film, I didn't love the film, but I liked the film a lot. But I separate myself when I separate that music from that film. I don't think about. I mean, once in a while, I'll think about Meryl Streep and Redford, flying in the plane together. But generally, if a piece of instrumental music from a film moves me, I steal it emotionally. I adapt it to whatever's going on with me.
That's so interesting. I use it. Sometimes I need it before a take, or something like that.
If I acted, I would rely on that shit.
Yeah, because that's the quickest way to transform.
Yeah.
I think sometimes is just, and especially like with a long run of a play, a lot of times, there's so many elements when you're working on a play that get added later. And a costume,
right.
Lights, then you add the audience, that kind of stuff. The score comes in, the music and the transitions. But when you've been doing it for a long time, sometimes you need new ways to reconnect and to deepen the experience of it so it becomes immediate and new and fresh. And it's just, listen to that. Sometimes I would just know that I would have to stop in the wings and listen to the transition music, that there would be some riff in there that would bring me emotionally to the next.
But isn't it interesting that there's a great many people that just don't get that? They're not touched or moved by songs or music, particularly by just music. There's so many people that are otherwise feeling individuals and emotional people that for whatever reason it just doesn't. I mean, I can't hang out with those people.
No, I don't
ever want to meet those people.
Who are you talking about?
But I do know that there are certain people that really can't relate to what we're saying. That particular chip is not part of their circuitry. And so for me, and this is a whole nother conversation, but when it comes to the people that you surround yourself with, particularly the person that you spend your life with, music having nothing to do with it being my career and my life's work, music is such an essential part of my relationship with my wife. It was a huge component to our courtship, and to this, there's just this music that is our soundtrack, and some of it is my music, which is really cool. But there's these songs that come. There's a Sade song called "The Moon in the Sky." Do you know that song?
I don't know if I do.
I can't really. I mean,
Santu played a lot of Sade when we first started.
Yeah, good man.
Well, that's
Santu knows what he's doing.
That's some of that kind of music.
To hold off on that because that's a question coming later. But yeah, that song came on, and I always liked Sade, but I wasn't like a Sade aficionado like Daisy is. And we'd been dating, just a couple of weeks, and we were hanging out one night at her place, and that song, "The Moon in the Sky," came on, and she went, "Oh," and she turned it up. She goes, "Oh my God, this is my favorite Sade song," and it is it's my ringtone when she calls me. It's my ringtone even now. So it's so cool that there are these little, sometimes 3 or 4 minute, pieces of glue, that join people together, that hold people together, that are.
Well, it's also a really great way to start to even just a friendship or get to know each other. Like when I'll start a new job and you just want to get to know the rest of the cast or whatever. I mean, we've had hilarious conversations very early on in Suits. Like, so what song did you lose your virginity to?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that starts a whole conversation.
It's a great question.
It definitely dates you.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was that problem.
Exactly.
But also, like, I remember, my parents, we just moved my parents, and I had to go back to their house and dig around in the basement and collect all the things that I wanted to hang on to. And I unearthed a box of mixtapes.
Oh, wow.
And
that you made or that you were given?
I was received.
Oh.
Yes.
A whole box of mixtapes?
Well, I might have. I don't want to brag, but it was a shoebox. Mm-hmm. No, and then a bunch that my sister, Connie, and I had made. And my relationship to music, and one of the reasons why I say it's very nostalgic, is because I had 3 older sisters.
Right.
And they're 10.
This is a very common theme.
Yeah, 8 and 5 years older than 9, 8, and 5 years older than me. And and I looked up to them so much. So I learned,
of course,
all the music,
of course.
And
and that was something that, Kenny Loggins said this to me. His love for Elvis, for example, came from his big brother, and he got into Elvis. I mean, he said, I loved Elvis, but he said, there were even some stuff that I didn't really like, but I pretended to like it because I wanted to have that bond with my brother.
Yes.
So,
and I can remember my big sister, Maura, the one who's 9 years older than me, I can remember her door closed.
Right.
Because she,
right.
she was the teen.
Stay out.
Yeah, the stay out, and she would play Loggins and Messina.
Right.
It would be Mama Don't Dance and Your Daddy Don't
Right.
Rock and Roll. That's his song, right?
Mama Don't Dance. Yes.
Exactly. And, so all these songs I associate with them and wanting to be like them. And also when I think back to, well, I don't know. It's a tangent that we don't need to go down. But I do have this funny conversation with Sancho because when you are first starting that romance, and it's also like looking at somebody's bookshelf or looking at their collection of movies or whatever, just to start to see if is this going to work? Like early on, I was like, oh God, the first time I took him skiing, I was like, oh, I hope he can ski because he's so cute and nice. But if he really can't ski, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. You know what I mean? And he was a great skier,
obviously.
But so we share a lot of music, but we have this one place where we are so divergent.
Which is?
He likes some heavy metal.
Oh, okay.
Like when he works out,
right?
It's like there's some AC/DC. We did go to an AC/DC concert with Gabriel.
Nice.
Which is really amazing. That was an amazing experience.
Nice.
But heavy metal, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
What? Who are you?
But I mean, I get that.
Says the girl who sometimes listens to, which means all the time listens to Broadway music when she's sprinting on the treadmill.
Okay.
So
okay. So, but that is divergent, of course. But I think that's also just, it's good. I mean, because if you like everything the same, that's going to get boring.
No.
And also, you have to have there's certain music that
you need to grow with each other too. You need to have them push. You need to have your mate push you and help you grow into new thoughts, new patterns,
Absolutely. Which is funny
adventures.
because Daisy has turned me into some music that I wasn't really aware of that I love, and then there's music that I really love that she'll go, I'm going to let you listen to that on your own. I don't need to hear that ever again. And it's but that's what's so fair about it. It's like, you don't have to share everything. It's right. And she goes, I get why you like that. I just, there's a singer, and obviously I can't tell you who it is, that he's not American and he's not known in America really, but he's very, very famous in his home country. And I know him, I've worked with him, and he is, to me, his voice is just unfathomably good, powerful, and the notes he hits, and so for years when I was younger, I would emulate him and I would listen and sort of practice and wish that I could. And so when Daisy and I started really getting together and sharing music and books and movies, whatever, not movies obviously, but I couldn't wait to play her this guy, and she looked at me and she went, wow, this was her quote, "That's a lot." I said, what do you mean? She goes, I feel like I've been assaulted.
right.
Vocally. Right. I feel like somebody's just been screaming at me for I was like, really? She goes, yeah, I totally don't get that. She goes, I think it's great that you love him. You could, whatever. But it's so not my thing.
Well, that's what's so cool about music and art and stuff, because I just had this conversation with my 9-year-old because, she's really into music. Mm-hmm. And she had watched a video of somebody sing, and there was a part of her that was like, I'm never going to be able to do that. Do I still want to try to learn how to sing if I know I'm never going to be that?
No, you have
and so that
to.
was was so thrilled she shared that with
That's
me.
She's 9? That's remarkable that a 9-year-old would even have that thought. We need to go have drinks with her later.
Yeah. She mixes a great martini.
I'll bet.
So then we started to talk about Taylor Swift and Adele and Beyonce and Lady Gaga and Ed Sheeran and
she
Bruno
weighed in
Mars.
on all of them. Yeah.
And how there's room for every...
Oh my God, can you imagine if everybody sounded the same?
Well, and that's why I took her to see Bette Midler on Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
The
And did she
very
dig it?
next week, I was like, I'm just going to take you to see something you've never seen before. And I want you in the room so you can feel on a visceral level
Right.
the magic of a great performer. Because YouTubing Wind Beneath My Wings
Right.
is not the same as sitting with 300, 800 people
Right.
in a Broadway house, 1,000 people, and watching Bette Midler do what she does.
Right. And there's also not that's a perfect lesson in not, and I'm not taking anything away from Bette Midler's vocal chops because she's an amazing singer, but there are some people that would say, oh well, she's not a great vocalist, but then there are people who are maybe not considered or technically this perfect Streisand-like singer, but their artistry and their performance. Rod Stewart's a great example. Like, there are people that, I'm a lifelong Rod Stewart fan. And
that's so funny. Can I say this?
Yeah.
Can we say negative things?
Sure.
That I'm going to turn the dial on immediately.
Yeah,
like,
interesting.
turn that. I can appreciate
Right.
his genius, but
Right.
like, I don't need to.
I get it. I got a bunch of those too. I got a bunch of those too. For whatever, for reasons that don't matter because it's all subjective.
But I believe you could talk me into becoming a Rod Stewart
Well, then maybe
fan.
it's, yeah. Like if I played you, his version of Robbie Robertson's Broken Arrow, if I played you certain songs, first of all, I love watching Rod Stewart perform. I've seen him live more than any other performer, and I played with him last year. We did a gig together last year, which was a trip. I mean, I met him a couple of times. We're not friends or anything like that, but we did a show. I opened for him last year at this big outdoor place in Atlanta, and we hung out a little bit for a minute, in between shows, and I watched the whole show. And I've seen him probably 7 or 8 times in my life, and it's not about perfection in the singing or vocal tone or any of that. I'm a fan of Rod Stewart, and I can watch his show because I love watching this guy have so much fun on stage.
Yeah.
And I do love the catalog of music, much of which he wrote. But there are also vocal performances that were not hits that somebody said to me, actually, I had this conversation. They said, okay, can you explain what is it about Rod Stewart? And I said, I believe him.
Yeah.
When he sings, I believe him.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me. I don't care if every note is perfect.
Well, exactly. And there's something about the joy.
I could also list 20 singers right now, which I won't, but I could list you 20 singers right now that I would say are technically pretty perfect singers. I never want to listen to them because I don't believe them.
Yeah. And I remember turning to Una so many times and being like, do you see her phrasing? Do you feel everybody loving her?
And she got it, right?
Una got it. But what's amazing was to watch Bette in her joy.
Right.
And she would do this amazing, beautiful thing where she would come in and out of her character, where she would be in the character and she would work the room on behalf of her character. But then as everybody's spirit is soaring, you see her flip into Bette for a few short seconds and actually almost thank the audience. Really take it in. And I took my kid's first concert. That's another thing. Like, what did you lose your virginity to? What was your first concert?
Right.
Like all those fun conversations at a dinner party.
The Monkees.
Whatever. The Monkees.
Yeah.
Nice. Depeche Mode.
Nice. Well, see,
Random.
that's so badass. No, but Depeche, if you're going to have a first concert, that's the one you want.
Why not the Hey.
Like somebody the other days, I heard that conversation. They said Radiohead. And I said, you know what? I think you just made that up because you want to be the coolest guy in the room. Yeah.
So I took them to see James Taylor because I always say, I'm like, James Taylor's like the Buddha when he sings.
He is.
It's like his
He's also
face
technically
changed.
a fucking badass.
Yeah.
Talk about an underrated
love him
vocalist.
more. I love him so much.
No.
I want to cry.
His singing, his vocal chops are astounding. And anybody that doesn't get that is just kind of musically dumb.
Oh my God.
Millworker? Do you know the song Millworker?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's the one nobody knows.
I did the play Working.
No shit.
Yes. That was one of the first plays I did in high school.
Wow.
Millworker is on Flag.
Yeah.
And
But the live version's better.
It's the third song I think on Flag. See, this is the thing. Like,
for those listening, don't listen to the Flag version. No disrespect to my guest
live
Sarah.
version is beautiful.
But go listen to the live version from James Taylor Live.
Yeah.
go listen to that.
James Taylor Live is, and The Water is Wide on James Taylor
Oh, holy
Live.
shit! Every track on that record
know,
is.
I know.
I've seen him 4
Only
times.
one. You are my only one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm moving away from the mic.
No, you can sing.
No. But that was like, I wanted to take them to their first concert.
And did they like James Taylor?
They did. They could feel it. It's that thing of being in the room or being on the lawn or wherever you are.
Right. It's like a commune. It's like you get swept up in it.
It's energy. I went to see Hamilton last year.
I haven't seen it.
Have you listened to the soundtrack?
No.
Okay. So okay. We need to hang out.
It's one of those things, but it's one of those things that it's so, I have so many people that I'm like now just being contrary about it. Now it's like,
okay.
Everybody's like, you have to. It's like, no, I don't fucking have to.
You don't have to do anything, Richard Marx.
No, but it's like if I was into television, like if I watched anything other than your show, I would just out of spite not watch Game of Thrones because everybody watches Game of Thrones, just so I can go, no, fuck you, I'm not watching that show. I'm sure it's amazing,
and I've never seen Happy Days,
right? And I'm not listening to Adele.
No, but that's so funny because being married to Santi, who's from Finland, people would make references to all these like childhood, like Mork or something. They'd say something about he doesn't get it because he wasn't born.
But they didn't have Happy Days and Partridge Family?
Mork and Mindy or like.
How old is Santu?
He's 46.
Okay.
He was like, I think I saw Gilligan's Island once. Like, I'm like, you don't have the Love Boat. You don't understand. What about Fantasy Island?
Right.
Like the plane.
Exactly.
Like, who are you?
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes when he'll use a word in a sentence. He doesn't have a Finnish accent. He speaks English without an accent.
I can attest to this.
But he doesn't. But then he'll use a word wrong, and I'll be like, English is his second language. Is his third language?
Really? Because I've only hung out with him a couple of times, but you'd never know he's not from California.
No, it's amazing. And he learned English when he was 6 in Nebraska, which is like a very
perfect place to learn.
But anyway, James Taylor, I can't say enough about James Taylor. I wanted them to say, and my little one was like 2.5 when I took her, but I used to rock her to sleep singing You Can Close Your Eyes. Oh. And so when I go, I think I've seen James Taylor like 7 times. It's like sometimes he'll just like play notes of the first chord. I don't know. Is this how, listen to me. Is that how you kind of like get in tune with everybody else, or you get ready and then he'll talk, but he'll just sort of hit the first few notes?
Usually that's a trick. If he's going to just start singing the song, he wants to make sure he's in the right key, and he'll just sort of hint so he knows his ear is trained to the right key, so he doesn't just... Because if you don't have perfect pitch, which 99% of us don't have perfect pitch, you just need almost like a pitch pipe kind of vibe.
So then what that does to me out in the audience is I'm like, oh my God, it's You Can Close Your Eyes.
Right.
I know what the song is. I get so excited. I'm like, okay.
There's also that. It's a showbiz. It's a showbiz trick, of course.
Okay.
Well, so it seems that in what year, do we know, because it's everything, everybody knows how old everybody is.
Oh, what year was I born?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it.
You're not saying? You're not saying? Okay. But you were a child 70s. Of the late 70s.
Yes. No, so I was born in the early 70s. How's that?
Okay, that'll work. Which is the perfect time to be born, musically speaking.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you want to know what was the top number 1 hit on the day I was born?
Well, then you're going to tell the year.
I know. Here we go. That's okay. Sexual Healing.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what was the number 1 hit when you were born?
1963. Probably it was right before the Beatles. The Beatles were 64. I don't know. I should look it up. I've never looked it up. I'm going to look it up. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, we could ask Siri.
Oh yeah, let's ask Siri. Does she know that?
But you were saying the early 70s.
Hang on.
So I'll
Siri,
say this.
what was the number 1 song in America on September 16th, 1960?
The charts is Bodak Yellow by Cardi B.
She does.
Wait for me to finish, bitch.
Do not marry her.
She went,
She is not a good listener.
Siri, what was the number 1 song in America on September 16th, 1963?
Okay, I found this on the web for what was the number 1 song in America on September 16th, 1963.
So she doesn't want to tell me, but we're going to look it up.
Does she like pop it up?
Yeah,
thing?
she popped it up.
Can you take all this air out? in post.
No, this is riveting. Are you kidding?
I'm going to start
Okay,
doing
you
a
ready?
monologue.
1963. You ready?
I
Guess
don't have
what?
any
Guess
good
what was
jokes.
number one when I was born?
Who is it? Tell
The
us who-
Angels.
Oh gosh, no idea.
My boyfriend's back, and you're gonna be in trouble.
Hey, la,
A little and great song, but little less cool than fucking Sexual Healing. So Sarah wins this round.
I'm winning something musically with Richard Marx.
What was the number one song when Una was born, for example?
Oh God, I should look that up.
Yeah, you don't know. And what's your other daughter's name?
Iris.
Iris, right? You should. That's important.
I should look that up.
Let's ask. We'll look up what for Daisy and Santu tonight.
And then
as well.
we'll figure out our porn names.
Yeah,
What do we really
I know
want?
mine. It's your pet and the street you grew up on, right?
Yeah.
In that order?
Yeah.
Swinger Partridge. Well, the fact
I'm a little upset by that one.
the fact that the name Swinger was my dog as a kid, and it's that's my porn Swinger.
Oh my God!
Thank
Speaking
you.
of Partridge, though, the Partridge Family. Did you watch? Did you dig that when you were little?
Of course.
Yeah, I think my sister had some posters.
I think I love you. So what are you so afraid of?
So let me ask you this though about Daisy. Does Daisy have a favorite song of yours?
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, there's a favorite song prior to meeting me, and then there's a
Okay.
favorite song. Because, of course, her favorite songs are the ones that I wrote about her since I
of
met
course.
her. But leading up to that, we actually had that conversation.
Oh my God, what is that like to have somebody write songs about you?
Oh, what's it like to
Write a song.
to write a song about somebody? That's the question. Her favorite song of mine is Hazard, which really surprised me.
Wait, sing Hazard for me.
It's the one about the girl that gets murdered in Nebraska. I swear I left her by the river. That's her favorite song of mine. I went, really? Hazard? She goes, yeah, I love that song.
Oh wow!
But she, and then there's other, she's got a list. But I love that once in a while there'll be one and she'll go, if I never hear that one again, it's okay. And I'll go, okay.
And how do
me
you
too.
feel for the rest of the day when that happens?
No, you know what? The fact that there's so many that she loves,
Of course.
No, I wouldn't want her to just she's.
How did you
tell
write
each other
that
the
song,
truth.
Hazard? Like what?
The music came to me complete. Like I woke up with the whole piece of music in my head. It wrote itself, and that happens a lot. Musically, it's like music is easy for me to write. Usually, I have to I get a little snippet of a piece of music, and then I develop it. But in this case, I was in the back of a tour bus on this really long tour, and I woke up, and it sounded like a little movie soundtrack. It sounded like a movie theme to me because there were no lyrics. I had no idea what the lyrics would be, but the music was completely finished. I heard the whole record in my head, and there was something about the music that was ominous and haunting and sad and cinematic. And so I knew it didn't sound like a love song. It certainly didn't sound like a fun rock song at all. It was different than anything I'd ever written musically, so I wanted the lyrics to be different. So I started working on... I tell this story in my show, actually. I started working on this idea, because I've always loved murder mysteries, novels when I was a kid, and murder mystery movies and stuff. So I thought, fuck, it'd be so badass if I could write a murder mystery to this in 4 minutes. So I wrote the entire song. I created this character, Mary, this town in Nebraska, a river that runs through the town, and one day the girl Mary ends up dead in the river, and nobody knows, and everybody assumes that my character in the song, this weird outcast kid, must have killed her. I had everything but the title. So this was in 1991. So no internet. So I called, this is a true story, I called the Chamber of Commerce in the state of Nebraska. So the opening line of the song was, my mother came to Dada when I was just 7. So I knew that the Dada, 2 syllables, was the name of the song and the town. And I did write about leaving this old Nebraska town. So I knew it was in Nebraska. So I called it the Chamber of Commerce in the state of Nebraska. And they faxed me the name of every city and town in their state.
On the curly paper.
On the curly paper. and I tore it, like you get rip. And I spread like 17 pages. and I shuffled them, and I just pointed. And the first one was like Pakawami or something. Like I can't do that. But the second one was Hazard, and I thought, oh, that's such a great.
Can we talk
title.
about that creation, like that creative process? That it's like I'm so amazed by the creative process.
So am I. It still mystifies me.
It's mystical.
It still mystifies me. I've come to believe that while I am very clear about the craft that's involved with good writing, and I think this is true of screenwriters that I know, novelists that I know, television writers probably as well. There is also just this concept that it writes itself. It comes through you, not from you necessarily. And I do think that there's an interesting fine line between the two. You have to have craft to turn it into something, that I think is great. But like Right Here Waiting, my biggest song of my life, I wrote in 17 minutes.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Show off.
No, I mean it was unbelievable. Like there was no stopping it. Hazard, the music to Hazard, there was no stopping.
Did you know how it was going to reach people?
No idea. I just knew that it reached me, and I knew that, and like in the case of Right Here Waiting, I was dating my first wife, and she was doing a movie in Africa, and I was touring, and there's it's before FaceTime, and this is like when long distance calls cost a mortgage payment, and so we weren't in touch for a couple months much at all, and it was really a tough time, and I just missed her so much, and I sat down at the piano and wrote Right Here Waiting like that, and it was, to me, it was like, okay, that's done now. I made a little demo of it, and I sent it to her, snail mail. Got to her like 2 weeks later in Africa. And that was it for me. I never, ever thought about recording it. I was making a rock record, too. It didn't really fit the album I was making. I tried to give it to Barbra Streisand. She asked me for a song around that time. And we're friends to this day. We joke about it, that I still have the voicemail of Barbra Streisand a couple of days later calling me back and saying, I got the song, Richard. I love the music so much. The melody's so beautiful. But you've got to rewrite the lyrics because I'm not going to be right here waiting for anybody.
Oh, my God. That's amazing. Right? That is an amazing story.
It's an absolute... You can't make that shit up.
That is perfect. Well, and it was meant.
It was meant to be. So I got talked into doing Right Here Waiting because if Barbara had recorded it, I would never have recorded it. And it probably... I don't know that it would have been a hit for her or not. But...
Can she do a cover of it now?
Well, she doesn't. That would be amazing, actually.
Hello, Barbara. My friend Sarah thinks you should cover my song Right Here.
But I don't, that's one of those things also that became the biggest song of my life thus far. And I fought against it. I fought against singing it. I fought against it because to me it was too personal to do. It was too much of a... And now, even, Night Before Last, it doesn't matter whether it's at this room at the Flamingo where I'm playing right now, or in Korea, or Sri Lanka. Like Daisy said, I'm sitting there, and this few thousand Sri Lankans are singing "Wherever You Go." It's humbling as fuck.
I can imagine.
It's so humbling.
I was gonna say, like, I want to come to the Flamingo, and I want to watch the audience watch you when you're singing that. I want to see them cry. I want to see
their
faces.
song. It's not my song anymore. It's everybody's song. That's what's so great. And I'm grateful that there's a bunch of those.
It's like of something mystical. It's like it came through you. I mean, that's a story of true inspiration. Yeah. True creative inspiration.
And I don't want to, I just got to share this with you because it's in the same thing, and then I want to carry on. But my dad died 20 years ago this month, and he and I had this incredible relationship, and it was unexpected and brutal and horrific, and it took me I'll never really get over it, and it took a few years for me to process it enough that I could even write about it. And again, it was one of those things where I didn't try to write about it. I thought, there's no way I can write a song about this. I can't. It's too big. I'll never be able to, to put this in 4 minutes, And I was in my studio, and I was cleaning up. I was like putting tapes away or something. I was producing somebody else's album or something. I was alone in my studio. And I was tired, and for whatever reason, I started to turn off the lights, and I just looked over at the piano, and I just went over, and it wasn't like I had an idea for the song or anything like that. I just needed to go sit at the piano. I started playing the piano, and this song wrote itself. And it was never a hit. It was called Through My Veins. I've had so many emails and posts and people that come up to me physically that are kind of like this thing that happened this morning. I said it to Daisy. Somebody messaged me on Instagram, a young woman who said, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. She's young. But she said, I needed to write to you because we just lost our 17-week-old daughter. And the only thing that's getting me through it is listening to Through My Veins.
Oh, God.
What are you going to say to that? What do you say to that? And, Widows of Soldiers who said Right Here Waiting was our song. Or,
God.
Those things are like so much bigger than you are, So that's never the intention.
No.
It's just, but to me, it's like that's the ultimate privilege when you write something for your own selfish purposes, and then even if it's one person, let alone thousands of other people or millions of other people who go, that says exactly what I need to say. So thank you. Or I'm going to use that at my father's funeral, or this other song for my wedding, or the christening of my daughter, whatever. There's like, it's just unbelievable. And I am still completely mystified by it.
I had a teacher who once said to us, and I think he was quoting Martha Graham, but he always said you have to find a reason bigger than yourself to do it. And, anything creative, it's got to be bigger than you, bigger than for you. And when you think about what you do, it's a life of
get that, but I
service.
don't agree with it. That's not my experience. I've never, ever written a song and thought, oh, this is going to affect somebody, or I really want people to. I am more grateful for my fans and the audience, the people that listen, than you can imagine. But I don't factor them in when I'm writing a song. It is a completely selfish experience. I write music that I like. I write songs for me.
There's something about you, though, that if I may, we haven't been friends forever, but you can get this from your music. Being vulnerable and emotionally connected is very brave.
Uh-huh.
And you write about deep emotions.
Right, but
in a public way. You're helping.
But that's not, all I'm saying is that's not the intention. But the thing is, I'm also aware that in certain ways, we're all the same. Like if I'm going through something, or if I need to purge something, or if I'm feeling something that feels very specific to me, I know that there's other people that are going to relate to it. All I'm saying is, I could sit here and bullshit people and go,
I'm doing it for this higher purpose.
I just want to make the world a happier place. I write songs to get off myself. Like, it's for me to purge stuff or to get really fired up about something. The rest of it is all whatever happens, happens. It's interesting to me that one of the things that we've discussed, probably the thing we've discussed the most through our correspondence, through emails or whatever, has been about music, and particularly about Glen Campbell, who just passed. And I loved that your appreciation for Glen Campbell was pretty profound.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. I think it's because it's one of my first memories.
Yeah, there you go.
And we talked about music and memory, and also, Alzheimer's is something that's touched my family, and obviously we just lost Glen Campbell, and he had Alzheimer's, and he and his family were so brave to be be the public face of it.
Yeah. Did you see you saw the documentary?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think one of my very first memories, Richard, because I don't know when Glen Campbell was coming. I don't know what year. Was it the early 60s?
Yeah, it was like around when I was born.
I remember on 8-track. So in the early 70s, we still had 8-tracks. I guess my dad's car still had 8-tracks.
Totally.
Okay. So I remember
my first Billy Joel album was an 8-track.
Which was your first Billy Joel album?
The Stranger.
Do you have what about Turnstiles?
Well, I got Turnstiles after I bought The Stranger. And Turnstiles is one of my favorite.
Favorite song on that album?
Somewhere Highland Falls.
We're going to talk about that.
That's
song
the correct.
later.
That's the correct answer, right?
James is on there.
Second. Yeah. James is on there too. And there's As I've Loved These Days on Turnstiles. Yeah.
And what is You're My Home on?
I don't think it's on Turnstiles.
Turnstiles is a magnificent album.
It's a fucking great album.
Yeah, so Glen Campbell is like, I can't put my finger on it. I think I remember, it's knowing that you're rolling. I think I remember like being in the backseat of the car, maybe being 3 or 4, like right when
Gentle
you
on My Mind, yeah.
Yeah, Gentle on My Mind. Having those first memories. I mean, in the movie when you would see him start to play that and knowing that it was so deep in him.
Yeah.
That it was still there.
Oh, yeah.
Like that music.
His muscle memory.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he couldn't remember hardly anything, but he could still remember how to play the solo on Wichita Lineman.
Name.
Right.
But he could remember how to do that.
His voice to me, I mean, his guitar playing was pretty legendary and he was really respected. And you probably know he was a big session guitar player. He played on Beach Boys records and he played on Strangers in the Night for Sinatra. And was a very successful session guitarist in LA before his own career. But the songs that he picked, especially his relationship with Jimmy Webb, who wrote Wichita Lineman and Galveston and so many other killer songs. But his voice to me was astounding right to the end.
So you sent me, so the way this whole dialogue happened between you and me is I took Una last year, I think it was, last summer, this time. I took her up to a place where we stayed in a little Airstream trailer for a night. And when we got in there, they had a little record player. And there were 5 albums in the little Airstream trailer. It was great. And she looked at this and was like, Mommy, what is this? And I went, oh my God, you don't know what vinyl is. You don't know
what a turntable is.
Okay. And then I'm like, there's 33 and there's 45. And I posted a picture on Instagram, and then you replied, and then we started emailing.
Right.
Because you were like, you need to play this and this. And that's when we had this amazing back and forth about the albums that I needed to play for Una. And it was so fun because it was all the
that
same
era.
music. Like we were right there. You were like, you need to get it some Carly Simon. And, you know,
Paul Simon as well.
Oh God, we got.
You got to play her if you haven't. You got to play her the "Still Crazy After All These Years" album.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, that's this album that made me want to be a songwriter. It's got "Still Crazy After All These Years." It's got 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. It's got this song called "In My Little Town," which is to me one of the greatest Paul Simon songs ever. You will flip out over that record. The songwriting holds up and the whole record holds up like you can't believe.
Well, and it's so fun to be exposing her to records because of the artistry of the record as a whole and the whole journey that you take, right? I mean, wasn't that how you started with your albums? Like,
sure.
Like knowing exactly which song went into the next. I know
of
that
course.
sounds
Sequencing
like the dumbest question.
No,
sequencing is what they call it.
It's a thing called sequencing.
When I would make my mixtapes back to my suitors.
But that was important too.
Yeah.
That was sequencing.
Yes, exactly.
It's just sequencing somebody else's music. The sequencing on an album, I mean, the album itself is kind of really dead now, but that was really a fun part of it. Like, it's like when I put a show together, like you taking people on a trip,
right?
And the show trip is different than the record trip, but
the dialogue that emerged around these albums that got us onto Glen Campbell, but all the other music, even like talking about Carly Simon and and you sent me a YouTube to show her of Glen Campbell singing, and it was like he had an opera.
Oh yeah, it was only make believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because it changes key like 7 times, and you think, okay, he can't sing, and he was a great example. Like Daisy appreciates Glen Campbell in a way that the other singer I mentioned earlier the other singer I mentioned, he's got a killer voice, and I love his singing, but he sings really hard, and it's really powerful. And Glenn could sing. His range was incredible, and you never felt like he was pushing.
No.
It was effortless.
Mm-hmm.
That's his instrument was. It breaks my heart that instrument doesn't exist right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he did give us a tremendous output of great work.
Yeah. It's so funny. Just 3 weeks ago, I blasted Wichita Lineman and danced to his song too in the living room and explained to him why that might be my favorite song.
You're listening to Song Talks with Richard Marx.
When you're looking to buy a car, you want to make sure that you're getting real pricing on actual inventory. And unfortunately, a lot of times this isn't the case. People configure cars online only later to find out they're not even available. With TrueCar, you get real pricing on actual inventory. This is not pricing offered by TrueCar, but pricing from an actual dealer. And not just any dealer, but a TrueCar certified dealer. This is a carefully curated network of dealers committed to transparency and offering you a competitive market price. Using TrueCar, you can easily find the car you want. Next, TrueCar will show you what other people in your area paid for the same car you're looking at. Now you know what a fair price is, so you can feel confident. Over 3 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. There are over 13,000 TrueCar certified dealers nationwide. You'll work directly with a TrueCar certified dealer contact. TrueCar users are more likely to enjoy a faster buying process when they connect with TrueCar certified dealers. And TrueCar users save an average of over $3,000 off MSRP. Once you register, you'll see a real price on actual inventory. This is competitive pricing offered to you only by a TrueCar certified dealer for an actual vehicle on their lot. It's pricing you'll see before going to a dealership, so you can feel confident when you show up. TrueCar shows their customers all of their available incentives before they arrive at the dealership. So when you're ready to buy, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features not available in all states.
This is Song Talks with Richard Marx.
Well, okay, that leads into how I do what I do with these. You got the 5 questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first favorite song?
Okay, so this, in 6th grade, I was in a play.
Okay.
And I got to sing the song, Really Rosie, which is a Carole King song.
Oh, really?
And
is it from a play?
It's a children's album that has a little play. Yeah.
Okay.
So that, in 6th grade, that was my first thing. And that led me to discovering Carole King and Tapestry and going into that whole kind of world.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's
cool. All right.
But I would say that's the other thing though.
But
like
that was your
Glen
first favorite song? In 6th grade? You didn't have a song when you were a little kid that you're like, oh my God, that's my... Like me, it was Hang On Sloopy. You know that song?
Yeah.
When I was like 3, when I was 2 or 3, my parents said that I would go around the house going, hang on, Sloopy, Sloopy, hang on.
I think it would be hard for me to pick. It was definitely like, Yeah, I guess I'm not going to be able to do one answer to your question.
You don't have to.
Because I do think about So when I was growing up, I grew up in Connecticut, and my parents had a ski chalet in Vermont, and this was sort of an amazing part of my growing up, and why I think I'm so close with my 3 older sisters, because we have a significant age gap.
Right.
But we'd have this 3.5-hour car ride every Friday night, and we stayed in a bunk room together.
Oh, there you go.
And so there was always the music in the car, and we had this like 1-for-1 thing with my dad where he got classical and then we got an album, and then he got classical and we got an album.
That's good.
And that
Good
kind of thing.
track.
And it started out on the 8-track, and that's why I think I remember the Glen Campbell so early on. But John Denver.
Okay, that's so fucking weird.
Did
that
you know
just
I was
said
gonna
that?
say
Because
that?
right before you said John Denver, I was thinking of the 8-track when my parents drove. We drove cross country to Colorado, and we listened to John Denver's "Back Home Again." So that was 1974. So I was 10 or 11, and that it had Annie's song.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm a Country Boy, and that's the only 8-track we listened to the whole trip, and we never got tired of it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Matthew, do you know the song Matthew? That's on
Yes.
I was just playing it the other day. Had an uncle named Matthew.
Oh, my
was
God.
his father's only son.
Oh, my
yeah.
God. Have you ever listened to his Christmas album?
No, I don't think so.
Aspen Glow.
Oh, Aspen Glow is a gorgeous song. I don't know the album, but I love it.
And then he has Merry Christmas, Little Zachary, or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
It's so beautiful, so sweet.
But that's so weird. I was thinking of
you
the...
telepathically gave me John Denver.
John Denver.
John Denver was big, and I remember the 45s.
Yeah.
And like what was on the B-sides and...
Rocky Mountain High, and he was such a badass too.
So
what a great songwriter.
Rocky Mountain High remains one of my favorite songs. And
Great song. Sunshine on My Shoulder.
Oh, my kids know the words.
His
to that.
catalog is, I mean, people don't, his catalog's a little forgotten and we need to bring it back.
But, and Annie's song, like, you fill up my sense, like, just the idea of, like, I don't know, the romance of that.
Yeah.
Like a night in the forest, like a mountain in springtime, like a walk in the rain. I just took a hike in Vermont with my kids and we sang that song.
Kenny Rogers was really instrumental in my songwriting career. He cut the first hits I ever had. And he's a really, really wise man, Kenny Rogers. Very wise, very smart. And he said, the songs that are the songs that will live forever are the songs that say what every man wishes he could say and what every woman wants to hear.
Oh, my God. Okay.
And to me, that, and I was when I was like 19, and I've thought about that. I've thought about that roadmap, about that, what he said to me as being the thing to shoot for. And Annie's song is like the ultimate example of that. But there's a bunch of them. But that to me is like, when you think about the lyrics to Annie's song, what guy doesn't wish, fuck, like a night in the forest? Why didn't I think of that?
Right.
Right?
Why didn't I think of that? No, it's I know the song for that. The song for me for that I just said. So when we were blasting, so we were playing vinyl three weeks ago,
right,
in the living room, and I put on Into the Mystic, Van Morrison.
Oh yeah.
And I said to Santu, I was like, Van Morrison.
I mean, I'm not a huge Van Morrison aficionado, but
you've seen him.
I've never seen him live.
But you've seen his face?
Yes.
He's a face for radio.
Well, what goes back to what we were talking about. It doesn't matter what he looks like. He writes those fucking songs.
This is what I said to my husband. I said, if Van Morrison had written that song for me and sang it for me,
you would be married to Van Morrison.
I would run off with Van Morrison.
Of course.
The end. Like, we were born before the wind.
Wow. I need to go listen to some more Van Morrison.
Just that's the only song that I'm really wild about.
Yeah,
I want to rock your gypsy soul. I mean, I would like my gypsy soul rocked.
Who doesn't want their gypsy soul rocked?
mean,
right?
If you can just any day of the week, if anybody wants to rock my gypsy soul.
Okay, so just call 1-800
Rock my gypsy soul, and I will respond.
Soul.
I'm going to change my Twitter name to Gypsy Soul.
Gypsy Soul. All right, so right around that time now, what's a song that when you hear it now, it takes you back to high school, like instantly transports you
to high school? Any song on the Joshua Tree.
Oh, right.
Good album.
And you think
Virginity.
and you can picture everything,
Lost.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't necessarily high school, Mom and Dad, if you're listening.
Was it Joshua Tree was when you lost your virginity to the Joshua Tree?
Yeah. That would have been right around there. Right around the right age. High school was, it's so funny because teenage.
Were you into other bands? Like, were you into The Cure?
Sure, but that was a little angsty for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
New
my
Order,
my sister had introduced me to the Smiths.
The Smiths.
Then,
right. Sure.
Indigo Girls.
Yeah. Right.
Were they then, or was that?
No, they were a little
college.
after.
That was 90s. Yeah. But that was also like Freedom.
George Michael.
George Michael.
Oh, he was massive. He was like a year or two before I made my first record.
So the coolest thing that just happened, speaking of like albums, whole albums, and honoring whole albums, at my yoga studio, there's one yoga teacher does this thing cover to cover where you go and you do hot yoga, but you listen to the whole album.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Full cover to cover, and we just did George Michael, and that was an amazing way, like, to really be immersed in it.
He was so
cool.
fucking brilliant, really brilliant.
And Madonna was like junior high,
yeah,
like Crazy for You, maybe the first slow dance. I remember my parents being outraged at Like a Virgin that we all knew the words to that. We had no idea what it meant.
Well, she did say like a virgin.
Well, it was just like ish, virgin-ish, like a virgin-ish.
Virgin, yeah.
But I would also say high school was very Les Mis
Okay.
album.
I get
Singing that top of the
That would make
lungs.
sense for you.
Yeah,
I would,
a little
I
bit.
would imagine.
Because my parents had just taken us all to see that. I think I was 12 or 13. So that would be before high school. But like my parents had taken us to see that in New York. And that was the first time that I cried at a curtain call.
Oh, wow.
And my sister, Connie, was next to me. She's the one up. And she cried too. And it was inexplicable then what we were crying about. But it was definitely the curtain call. It was the moment where the audience thanks the actors.
It resonated with you in that emotional way.
They thank us, and you shared something that will never happen again. They're going to do the show again tomorrow night, but it'll be fresh to a whole new audience. It's never going to happen again. That moment is over. And there's a moment of gratitude between both parties that happens. And that was such an epic show, you know, and it was so perfect being that young and seeing it. And then so I think my senior quote in my high school yearbook was probably from Les Mis. There was a lot of like that happening. So
what is your go-to sex music? What are you on to? What are you?
Miles Davis.
Oh, wow.
No lyrics. I don't need any visitors. I want all my attention.
You don't need to think about what
him.
anybody else is into. Just
it was
nice, good choice. I haven't heard that choice yet.
What do people choose? What are people listening to in their bedroom?
It's all across. It's all over the map. It really is all over the map.
We do. I mean, there's Coltrane and there's Stan Getz, but it's always jazz.
But I have had a few people mention that they would prefer instrumental music.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's our favorite music is. If there are lyrics, they're sort of nonsensical, and it's this sort of trance music. This sort of it's not EDM. It's a form of EDM, but it's a station that there's a couple of stations that we have on Pandora that are just sort of like perfect.
Okay,
because they just sort of transport you.
Program that into my
absolutely. Sharing is caring.
Exactly.
What is? And this is interesting because when I ask songwriters this question, they're stumped. Like I'm hard pressed to answer the question. I have an answer for it, but and when I ask people who are not songwriters, they tell me immediately. What's a song that somebody has written and or recorded that when you heard it, you went, "That's me. They're talking about me. They wrote that song about me."
Okay, so not Sarah Smile. You named the song already. Summer Highland Falls.
Really?
Which hilariously on the live album, he's like, "This is for all the manic depressives out there."
Right.
And then he goes into do-do-do-do-do, you know.
They say that these are not the best of times, but they're the only times I've ever known.
I'm a very happy person. I've had a great life. I'm not saying that. I can't put my finger on what
it's
it is.
It's either sadness or euphoria. That's that's one of the most brilliantly written phrases in literature, let alone a song. The middle ground, especially for those of us who are creative in any way, it's part of our DNA. It's part of the DNA that I think you and I share, and that anybody who is a creative person, we are fucked up in a particular way that we all have in common, that we kind of look at each other like, yeah, I know. I get it. Yeah, bro.
Yep. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And the middle ground between sadness and euphoria is boring. So we cling to one or the other. Euphoria is just like that fast, but I can fucking just languish in sadness. And it's where poetry comes from. I don't want to hear happy songs particularly. I find them boring to hear, let alone to write. I think that the feeling, the emotion of heartbreak or depression or angst is a bigger, more powerful emotion than joy. That said, the last few years, I've experienced this whole change. 180, where my general demeanor is happy as fuck. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't trade it. Having lived a life that that the darkness is what was my best friend. Now I don't want to hang out with him anymore. It's still there. It's always there, you know. But it's interesting that song.
You talked about.
But I cut you off because I want to know why.
No. You talked about early on how you were, you know, you knew you could write the songs to win Sarah Blackman, or what was her name?
Sarah Blackwell.
But also you, at the same time, you probably had a sense, because you had a sense of outsiderness.
Yeah.
Because you're an artist. Every artist does. This sense of, do I fit in? Who am I? This weird, and this constant
I can't sit with you. I'm not allowed to sit with them.
That stuff.
Yeah.
And that goes into, and I just read, and I want to share it with you. I'll, like, another day I'll drop off the book, but Mary Oliver has a book of essays where she's a poet, obviously, but like she absolutely puts her finger on this, how artists are constantly and never ending seeking of that moment of a peak experience. That just moment, that the moment where your senses are filled up like a night in the forest, where just I can't give words to it like Mary Oliver does, but I know what those feelings are. But the music takes us there. The music gives us those experiences. It was funny because earlier on I was talking about Hamilton, and I was going to talk about Christopher Jackson, who played Washington, and I saw it twice. Rick took me for his birthday. My friend Rick Hoffman took me to see Hamilton for the second time because we both loved it so much. And he's like, it's my birthday. The original cast is leaving. I want to go have this peak experience with you. We were 5th row center on his big birthday, and we just like cried and held hands, and we're theater geeks together, but we were moved in such a way. And when Chris Jackson sings this song about saying goodbye to George Washington, being in that room was such an uplifting, amazing experience. And when I had the opportunity to meet him afterwards, I think I threw him a little bit, or maybe this question was too personal for him in that moment. But I was like, are you religious? Because I felt like you took me to a church that I have always been seeking.
Wow. You said that to him?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was like, he didn't answer my question about whether or not he's religious, but he did say that early on he had a teacher or somebody say to him, if the music doesn't heal you, quit.
Right.
And it was like, I still put that on my, you know, in my earphones, listen to him sing that, and I just feel that euphoria that Billy Joel is talking about, you know?
Yeah.
Or the sadness. Even like, I remember in college, like listening to Tori Amos.
Sure.
Like she helped me understand all my angst,
Apple
all that.
and
Girl.
Yep.
Like, you fucked me over, dude. Like,
Right.
all that mean boy shit that we're going through, like, all that got worked out with Tori Amos and Fiona Apple, and all those ladies helped me work that shit
Alanis.
out. Yes, exactly.
What a great answer, Summer Highland Falls. I love that song. And then the last question is, there's no one answer, but just any song that when you hear it, you go, there is no room for improvement on that song. It's perfect.
Wichita Lineman.
Perfect choice.
And I know we already talked about it, but I have to revisit it.
What's the best line in the song?
No, need you more
Yes,
than
and I
want you.
need you more than want you. Again, talk about what every man wishes he could say and every woman wants to hear.
So I was saying we were blasting that. This is before Glen Campbell died, just a few weeks ago, and I explained to Sanjay, I made him slow dance with me to that and Into the Mystic one night, the night when we were playing the album.
Yeah,
and I mean, I could have 700 answers to this question. It's so hard. It's particularly timely right now with Glenn just passing last week, or 2 weeks ago. But And you have to help me understand why I love this song so much, because I just know what it does to the atoms in my body. I just know
but
how
there's
it
no
makes my
explanation
skin
to it.
There's something about, and it's like what I love in a great actor. There's a simplicity that is belied by the genius of the craftsmanship. I mean, I know Jimmy Webb wrote that song, right?
And he's written others that are
incredible. That song is delivered to us in a way that it feels very simple and pure. And what I love about it is that it is the story of every man, just to circle right back to the beginning when I was saying, like, I get the chance to play the every woman, playing Donna. Yeah. But just the real journeyman, like this guy who works in the phone poles, keeping the telephone lines going in the middle of Kansas, right? Wichita's in Kansas.
Wichita, Kansas, yeah.
It's in Kansas. I got confused there because we were talking about Nebraska and your song. And
what a setting. What a perfect setting.
It's perfect. And the flatness and the looking for, the overload, like keeping the lines free. And I can hear you in the wires, like he's thinking about his lover, and he can hear her.
I can hear you through the wine.
Through the wine, oh my God. And just, there's some kind of special alchemy that happens in the particular cry of Glen Campbell's voice, and the poetry of the simplicity of just, I can hear you through the wine. Like, everything is reduced to its simplest forms, but that's almost the most complicated or most profound. We feel the most profound things when it seems so simple, and you see that in great performance. Like Edie Falco can have a moment on Nurse Jackie, where it's just a moment, and it seems really simple, but it's so deep, it's so human, and there's something about the song that's just so human.
I totally agree with that one. There's and the songs like Wichita Lineman that paint a picture where I remember when when I was a kid, I loved that song when I was a little boy because I didn't think of Glen Campbell.
You pictured the story of the guy out on the highway.
Totally.
You see him.
Totally.
And you see the day, and you see the sunshine.
And you see him sad and missing her. And
you feel him yearning.
Exactly. Even when as a little kid, before you can process what it is, you just know, it's amazing.
And it's funny, it's like sometimes it's a song that I use to get to an emotional place in a scene. I have certain soundtracks for different kinds of moments, access. Like a way in. Doors.
Isn't it also interesting that, I don't know about you, but you take a song like Wichita Lineman, which is I agree, is a perfectly written song. It's absolutely perfect. And if I took a singer who I think is Tony Bennett, to me, is an extraordinary singer. I don't want to hear Tony Bennett sing Wichita Lineman. I don't want to hear anybody sing Wichita Lineman but Glen Campbell. I don't want to sing it. I just want to hear Glen Campbell sing it forever. No matter how good you are, or if you're a friend of mine, don't fucking sing me Wichita Lineman because I don't want to hear it. I only want to hear Glen Campbell sing Wichita Lineman.
That's amazing. Have you ever heard Prince sing A Case of You?
Yes. That's different,
I thought you could never improve. I don't think you can improve A Case of You, but you experience it.
Yeah. And it's not that it's better.
No, it's not.
But if it is going to be different, you want... I have to say that I think I'm with you. I mean, because people have tried to cover it, and it's like, why would you ever touch Case of You? And when I heard Prince's version, I went, oh, holy shit. I can't believe how much I love this. Now, I mean, I do believe it because he was a genius, but... And I don't use that word a lot, but he really was. He really was a genius.
What song do you pick?
The song that I pick... for a perfect song, or for the song that I feel like that I identify with?
Both.
The song I identify with, I can't really explain why. It's "Red Rain" by Peter Gabriel.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, that song to this day rips me to shreds. It's the one song that I can't listen to without getting completely lost in it. I've heard it thousands of times, and I get fucked up every time I hear it. And I've sung it now, and sometimes I'll do it as a first encore song of my acoustic show. I don't ever do it with a band. I just do it just me and a guitar. And it's the only song I've ever sung where I've ever had to control myself because I'm going to lose it on stage. So there's something about that song, and there is such a darkness and a pain that I relate to in that song. I mean, I remember the first time I heard it, I just wept. I sobbed like a baby, and it has affected me that way ever since. So again, it's not like, that song's about me, but there is something about it that lives in me, obviously, that Peter Gabriel knew, about me. And I couldn't even begin to... Yesterday, I always think about Yesterday. It's like, I think that's a perfect song. I don't think there's any better written song than Yesterday.
That's really cool.
But there's a bunch. There's so many songs. I'm such a fan of so many songs.
Who wrote Yesterday?
Paul McCartney.
Did he... How much did they divide? Like, who did all the...
They started out writing together the first couple of years. And then when it got big, they kind of split off. And they contributed here and there, but they didn't sit in a room and write together anymore. And you can pretty much tell whose is whose. Okay. So it's very clear that Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is a John Lennon song. And Nowhere Man is a John Lennon song. But that Long and Winding Road is a McCartney song. Yesterday is a McCartney song. Michelle is a McCartney song, if you're really into the Beatles, you go, oh, well, that's clearly... Strawberry Fields is completely a John Lennon song. I mean, I could be... like, I've never sat down with Paul to talk about this, but from what I know, I'm pretty accurate about these things. But there are some that he's done interviews where he went, everybody thinks that that's all John, but I actually wrote this part here. But there's very few examples of that. It's pretty... The delineation was set. So this was so much fun, and now we're going to go have dinner and talk about more shit.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah Rafferty, for
this.
Being on Song Talks. It was such a blast.
Such a pleasure.
And
thank you.
We can't wait for seasons 8 and 9 and 12 and 17 of Suits.
Okay, your lips to God's ears. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Song Talks. I want to thank my guest, Sarah Rafferty. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of Song Talks here on Podcast One or on Apple Podcasts. And while you're at it, you could leave a rating and review. We'd love to hear what you think of the show. Coming up on the next episode of Song Talks, my guest will be Mario Lopez. We got together and talked about the music that he's loved all his life, and it was a really, really good hang. So check that out.